As clarity is approaching, we are starting to get some FUD from new media and old media. Today, I'll break it down for you because this will start to maybe change the course of history. Let's get into it. I do want to thank our sponsor today. That is Tangem. This is where you can get into self-custody. Times like this is where you want to be in control of everything you're doing in terms of digital assets. The way to do that is a self-custody wallet. Secure not only your crypto, but you can also get into yield generation, a lot of tools, as well as buying and selling tokens. So all of that is available over on Tangem. Just jump over to our link down below. Get started over there. It takes you about 3 minutes to set this thing up, and then you will get into all sorts of cool tech, including the smart private key backup, a very quick and easy way to get started. Use our link. Let's get started. I want to show a bunch of stuff here because it is getting heated right now around the Clarity Act. And of course, remember Thom Tillis, he came in and basically said, I am hijacking the Clarity Act and every other bill I'm involved in if we don't get this Kristi Noem chick, Ice Barbie, out of here. Well, he got his way. Ice Barbie is no longer there. She, of course, has stepped aside, and it is definitely now changing the course, I think, on Clarity. The ball appears to be in Senator Thom Tillis' court. This came in from Eleanor Terrett. Cody Carbone, a friend of the channel, said, hey, Tillis has now been very receptive to our discussions about stablecoin yield, and I'm optimistic now that we will find a way to get a yes vote from him. So that's another yes coming in for what we will see on yield. Yield is a big factor here, guys, because it does start to push the traditional media into picking a side. Remember Trump, he just threw the gauntlet down, picking a side, saying Americans should be able to make money on their own money. And now we have Fox Business talking about this. Take a look.
The issue is, should crypto platforms be able to pay rewards versus taking their money and leaving their money in deposit accounts?
Taking revenue out of the hands of banks and putting it into the pockets of Americans is something that, I'm really passionate about and really supportive of.
I mean, when you say, we should have money in people's pockets, I mean, it's in people's pockets in deposit accounts right now, right?
No, that is not right. It is not in your pocket. In fact, if you have the chance to go into a deposit account, you will know, as well as every other American, you will get a pittance. If you get 0.1%, you have done well. And that, I think, is the question. Now, I don't know that this is even going to be a factor going forward, because I'm not even sure people will move money out of banks into crypto. Maybe they will. Let me know down in the comments. I want to play a continuation of this clip where the crypto industry is kind of defending this. Take a look.
It's in people's pockets in deposit accounts right now, right?
Yeah, but the banks pay a very low rate. So the debate isn't really about what, it's how much, right?
Yeah,
in crypto firms, the banks are at all-time profits. And the fact that they're paying out pennies in terms of the rewards they should be paying out to the American consumer.
All right, so from that, you would think it'd be an easy thing to pick a side. Well, listen to this next clip.
If you're going to have crypto players look like banks, shouldn't they be FDIC insured?
Well, most deposits in the U.S. are not FDIC insured because of the $250,000 limit.
Well, I mean, look, it's a great point that you made about the $250,000 cap.
For most of you, I'm sure you're understanding that when you put money into a bank, it's really not your money anymore until you can go back and get it out. But in fact, they use what is called fractional reserve banking. They take $1 from you and they go lend it out 9 times. The other thing is there is a cap on the FDIC insurance. So if you're lucky enough to be a wealthy individual, you're only covered for up to $250K. And then the rest is free. If that bank goes down, you only get back $250K, and it takes a long time to do it. So these are factors that I think at least gives a lot of depositors now opportunities to create a diversified banking plan. And I think this is a deal that we are going to see more and more of, especially now that we have Trump backing this. All right, so I want to jump over to the privacy side. You guys have listened to and heard a lot about what's going on with Anthropic. Well, now we have the U.S. government has made an official statement here. It's official now. The Pentagon has made and labeled Anthropic as a supply chain risk. This, of course, created some pretty big issues overall. And one of the things that you have to consider right now is there were only 2 major areas that Dario, the founder of Anthropic, was concerned about when the Pentagon was asking for control of Anthropic, the AI. Listen to what he had to say.
Again, we only have 2 of these: domestic mass surveillance, fully autonomous weapons. No one wants to be spied on by the US government. No one wants to be spied on by the US government. I would have disagreed, but I would have respected them if they said, DOW, we don't want to work with Anthropic, we're going to go with one of the other models. But they've both extended that to parts of the government beyond the DOW and tried to punitively revoke our contracts beyond DOW. And they've done this supply chain designation thing. And it's very hard to interpret this in any way other than punitive. Disagreeing with the government is the most American thing in the world. And we are patriots. In everything we have done here, we have stood up for the values of this country.
So Dario there really kind of boiled it down to two things. One, don't spy on Americans, use our data against us. Also, don't get into autonomous killing. And that is the two major things that really they drew a line in the sand on. The All In podcast came in and covered this topic. And within it, it was this episode right here with the Assistant Department of War lead. And when you look at what happened in this episode, there was major pushback from the audience. And this gets pretty crazy because when you look at the All In podcast, essentially what they've done is they have glazed this guy completely as they brought him on. Listen to this first clip.
Emil Michael is now the Undersecretary for War. Some might say fixer.
I hope it was more than the fixer.
Well,
raising $20 billion
fixer,
or so.
I mean, you got it done. You got it done.
An operational axe, a rainmaker.
There's that too.
All right, so that's bad. Then I go over and I look at this and I see Freebird. He's sitting there with the robots in his background. You know what that's from, guys. This is Star Wars. This is basically where they were getting ready to take over the world. And of course, that is exactly the case if you kind of compare this. This is the kind of dystopian nature that we're talking about right now. And I think that as we start to see getting into where AI is being used by governments, this is going to get pretty nasty pretty quick. Now, I want to play another clip because this one goes into how the Assistant Undersecretary of the Department of War answered around autonomous killing, which is what Dario was trying to protect against. Take a look.
And I looked at contracts, I was like, holy cow, you can't use them to plan a kinetic strike.
You can't do a war game scenario with it?
You could do a scenario, this is what we would do, and it might involve a kinetic strike which causes harm to a human. So you're like, well, what do you think these folks do? You know, this is the Department of War. This is what we do. We're not knuckle draggers here. We don't want to hurt people unnecessarily. So, you know, it's our province to decide how we fight and win wars, so long as they're lawful.
By the way, this is deplatforming all over again.
He clearly admitted that they would be using this for planning. This next clip goes even further, and this is around the surveillance side. Their privacy out there right now. Take a look.
They didn't want us to bulk collect public information on people using their AI system. There's months of this stuff painting us as doing mass surveillance where their issue was like some commercial database thing, which I'm not even sure we buy them. You know, we run schools, hospitals, we do a lot of things at DoD. We don't just fight wars. And the way they were able to characterize these two things, which are genuinely scary to people, but were not the real issues. If you don't want your stuff to be used for Department of War stuff, you shouldn't be selling to the Department of War.
Pretty straightforward.
It's in the name. It's in the name.
Well, and then also,
I don't know why this is funny, guys. I don't understand why this is funny. This is personal privacy. He even admitted to the fact that they are collecting data, and they were trying to do it. It was one of the stipulations that they put out on it. He goes further into this because now he admits to something else, and you won't guess what. Take a look.
And then the trigger point was after the Maduro raid. One of their execs called Palantir, who we buy themselves through, and asked them, was our software used in that raid? Which is, by the way, classified information.
They went behind your back.
And it wasn't behind my back. I don't want to accuse them of that. But holy shit, what if this software went down? And that was like a whoa moment for the whole leadership at the Pentagon. And I went to Secretary Hegseth that we're potentially so dependent on a software provider without another alternative.
How would he not know that? I mean, that just clearly outlines, in my opinion, incompetence. If you don't have a backup and even a redundancy on that backup, especially in the Department of War, I mean, come on, this is the first line of defense for Americans around the world. This is something I thought was a really bad take on his point. you yourself would be incompetent, I would think. I mean, I would have systems and redundant systems on that one, especially with something as important as this. This guy is going to end up becoming the next Kristi Noem. You watch. It's going to happen. We will see some incompetence layering in going forward. And the other thing that this factors in is that this had an effect on the entire market, especially on the Mag 70. If you think of it, AI in general, this would affect everybody all the way up into NVIDIA because of the impact that this put on investors. Wait a minute, the government's doing this against Anthropic, one of the biggest companies out there, going in this direction. Well, not only that, it starts to analyze and push, and I think now open up at risk companies that are actually communicating and agreeing with the Department of War. And some of them, are, of course, are Grok, OpenAI, which we know, Gemini, all now handling data over to the government. Take a look at this clip.
OpenAI software, Gemini software, and Grok software. Have they pushed back on any use?
So Grok's all in for all lawful use cases across all classified and unclassified networks, as you'd expect.
All right, so further into this, they start to now kind of pit Anthropic against Americans. Take a look.
You can't do that. It's clear that Anthropic just lost all the Republicans. But I think that if they think that they have the Democrats, that's fleeting as well. They accidentally may have pissed off every constituent.
I don't think so. I think that the power of the people is starting to rise. We're already starting to see it right here on U.S. downloads of Claude, absolutely skyrocketing over ChatGPT. And this is happening in real time. You have that, then you go and look at this kind of data right here. Look at that. Anthropic, #1 in the last 7 days right there on downloads over on Google Play. Then you can kind of jump into this. You got, all sorts of people starting to go in and get even more Claude. And this boils into the next clip, which is really talking to the valuation about Anthropic. Take a look.
What is the senior management really doing? What do you think you would tell them if you were sitting inside of the board of Anthropic? Right?
You're shutting the up. Yeah. You're just shutting the up. And I don't think that company's worth $350 billion anymore.
I mean, you cannot just let a government run roughshod over private companies, and that is exactly what happened. I would agree that if you're not interested in doing things on the scope of work, maybe Anthropic just steps away. But for the government saying, hey, you can no longer use this because it's a risk, maybe it's just not a preferred vendor kind of thing. All right, so I want to go into one more clip here. This is by Jason Calacanis, and he goes in on a rant around Anthropic. Take a look.
Here's 9 companies and their activities with the administration, from the inauguration to attending the inauguration to the White House CEO dinner to the Melania documentary, Amazon. They have all participated. There's one company that hasn't participated, and that's Anthropic. I pull Dario aside and I'd say, listen, this is not a battle you can win. You're going to come across as not being patriotic. Tim Cook is showing up for the Melania premiere. Would it kill you to support the president? Would it kill you to show up? Show up for the president.
I'll tell you
show up for America and be a patriot. You don't have to donate, but be a patriot and show up for the dinners.
Hey, Dario, call Emil back right now and say, you know what? Sorry, we f***ed up. We support our customers' use of our models to do everything and anything. And this was just a misstep.
Emil, how do you respond?
I mean, I would say that's what I've always wanted. You're going to have to apologize to more people than just me.
Yeah, wow. This is a pretty stark take right now on this. This may, I don't know. Where do you guys stand on this situation? Are you pro, let's go in and just do whatever the government tells us to do? Or are you, hey, maybe there is a line in the sand we cannot cross? Especially when we are in the early stages of AI development. Dave Friedberg said was the valuation, that this company is not worth that much. But if you look at pre-stocks over here, Anthropic is starting to move. In fact, considerably, 17% up. And I think in general, this is just kind of a bad take, because you cannot expect every company out there, private company especially, to just automatically fall in. This was a good position by Dario of trying to protect Americans. One other note, if you just take a look at what's happened over on Jupiter, where you can trade this in pre-stocks kind of thing. This is where it started to dump right after the news. And then, of course, I think everybody looked at it and said, wait a minute, maybe this is actually positive because they're standing up, and boom, you have Anthropic absolutely striking top. So as you can see, that's positive, I think, for Anthropic. It's not that we're talking about investment advice, but at least you would think that billionaires who get a chance to get early access, early stage money, all these kind of things, they can pick the right winners. They had to go back in and actually reconsider in the same episode their position. Take a look.
I think Anthropic is $1.5 trillion market cap at the end of the day, unless this blows them up.
You're still buying the 5x versus the 3x kind of thing.
Anthropic is worth a lot more than 350. That's for sure.
It's undervalued compared to ChatGPT.
All right, undervalued, not valued, should be worth it, am worth it. Okay, well, then you have Chamath's SPAC performance. Everybody's been kind of dogging him on that. This is something we've talked about here on the show is, there hasn't been some major wins. Here is a clip of him talking about those wins.
Why is everyone so mad at Chamath? All he did was lose billions in retail investors' money by promoting one-page SPACs. It's not like he then told them to enjoy their capital losses or anything. Give the man a break. Chamath's response, yes, I did.
All right, piling on.
So good. Great.
Yeah, look at that smile.
I think that's enough said. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.